Welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at viewports and cameras. So you remember in the last video I got my character to walk with animation, to jump and to change facing the way it faces as it walks in different directions using the scale X value. Okay, so I'm sure you can see from the screen that I've got my whole level on display at once, which is not what I want, because we want a game where we've got a camera that follows the character. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up a viewport and a camera, and they are different. The viewport is the size of the screen image that you will see on the screen when you play the game. The camera is the physical size of the camera. So easiest way to show you this is to demonstrate. So we're going to go onto our room. Okay, and when you go into your room initially, you can see here we've got an option for viewports and cameras. If I select one of the other options in here, so if I select the floor for example, you can see that that option disappears, so I can't see those. The way you get that back is by clicking back on the tab for your room, and that gives you the overall settings for your room. Same thing if I was on the background, okay, just click back on the room and it allows me then to see the viewports and cameras option. So this is my room size, okay, these are the viewports and cameras. So what I need to do first is to enable the viewports, otherwise it won't work, and I've got 8 different viewports. We're only going to use one, so we're going to use viewpoint 0. This also gives you camera 0. So you can see that I've got 2 options. I've got the camera properties and the viewport properties. We're going to set them as the same values. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I can see the viewport, so I'm going to make that visible, and you can see that it puts a box around the outside of my screen. Okay, they default to 1366 by 768. I'm happy with those values. I suggest you keep them the same. If you want to change them, then that's up to you, but I suggest you keep the camera and the viewport sizes the same. If I change the, if I go on to my game, okay, run my game, you can see this is the viewport. Okay, you can see that it's cut that large 30, what was it, 30 odd thousand, 3,000 and odd size of my room down to what was the size of my room? 3567. Okay, all the way down to 1366. So it's cut the size down considerably. So that's the viewport. The camera. Oh, sorry if I should have showed you. What happens if I move in with my viewport? Okay, my camera's static. Okay, I'm still in the level. You just can't see me because I haven't set up the camera movement yet. So I'm going to close that down. Okay, again, if I change the camera properties, so if I change the camera to 800 for example, this box will reduce. Okay, that's the camera width. Okay, so if I run my game, and you can see that now, that because I've got a different size viewport to camera, it's skewed my image. Okay, which is not what I want. So try and keep these the same, 1366. Okay, so that's the camera and obviously the viewport and the camera setup. However, they don't do anything at the moment. I need them to track me. So I'm done with setting up the viewport because I've got it visible. So I'm going to close down room 1 and I'm going to open up my object, okay, for my player, because I want my camera centered on my player. So there are a couple of things we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is to declare some extra variables. So the variables that we're going to be setting up are going to be in the create event, and I'm just going to bring that across, and I'm going to create some comments through the code for good practice, and these are going to be my camera variables. Okay, the first one I'm going to set is one called cam, and again these are the ones that I've come up with. You can use different variable names if you want to. and this is just going to identify or store the camera that we're using. So we're going to use view underscore camera, which is a inbuilt function, square brackets 0, because that's the camera that we're using from the settings that we've just done. Okay. The second variable we're going to save, or variable we're going to create, is the view height. So I'm going to call that view h, and I'm going to make that equal to, again, this is an inbuilt variable, camera underscore get underscore height. Okay, cam. So that gives the height of our current camera, which is 768, because that's what we set it as. We can do the same thing again, but this time it's going to be view underscore w. Okay, so for view width, and that's going to be camera underscore get underscore width, open bracket cam, and that gets our width dimension for the camera, which is 1366. Okay, so that's that set. Sorry, that's the wrong command. It should be get underscore view underscore height underscore height. Right, just so as you're aware, when you're using inbuilt functions, they should turn this colour. Okay, if they're correct. The reason I knew that wasn't correct is because it's still the colour of the variable definition. So that's how I knew that was wrong. So it's just something to watch for as you type in your code. There you go, so those two are correct now. Next variable I'm going to set is one called smooth, and this is going to identify how smooth the camera moves. So when the camera is moving around the character, I want it to slowly come to rest. I don't want it to stop dead. So I'm going to set a value for smooth, and I'll explain that a little bit later. I'll demonstrate it later, but for now just set it to 0.15. And the last variable I'm going to declare is clamp to room. And this is going to be used for helping us make sure the camera stays within the room so you can't see anything outside. So I'm going to set that to true. We're going to use that in the code in a minute. Okay, so that's our variable definitions complete for our camera movement. So now then, let's have a look at the code to create the movement for the camera. So we're going to add another event called a step down. Okay, so step, or end step, sorry, end step. And the difference between a step and an end step is the step event calculates everything in the game frame. The end step calculates is the last thing to be calculated. So what we want is the movement of the camera to take place after everything in the frame has been done, and that gives us a smooth camera transition. So the end step is used for that purpose. So whenever we're dealing with cameras, we always put them in an end step. I'm just going to add code again, or comments, just to help us identify what's going on here. So this code is used to move the camera, the camera viewport with the player. Okay. So the first piece of code that we're going to do then is we want to keep the camera centered on the player. So this piece of code is going to keep camera centered on the player. So I'm going to set a local variable, and this is the desired X. So this is where you want the center of our character to be. Desired X underscore x is going to be equal to x minus view underscore w times 0.5. So I spelled wrong. Desired x. So this variable desired x is going to contain x, which is our width of our screen, minus the view width times 0.5. So that's going to set our camera directly in the middle of the x-axis of our character. Okay. We can do the same thing for y. So I'm just going to copy this declaration. I'm going to paste it underneath, and this time it's desired y is going to be equal to y times, and this is going to be view height. Okay, so that's going to put our camera directly in the center of our player. Right, the next thing I'm going to do, let's put a space there. Spacing doesn't matter, it's just I like to keep things consistent. So the next thing we're going to do is to put some code in there that's going to clamp the camera to the room. And by clamping the camera to the room, I mean not letting the camera view anything outside of the room. So we do that, so I'm going to just put a comment in there, clamp the camera to the room. Okay. So we're going to use an if statement to do this. So if clamp to room. Okay, so that's wrong. Clamp to room. Okay. So we've already set the value of variable clamp to room. So what this is saying that if we need to clamp the camera to the room, so in other words, if the camera is going to start showing us stuff that we don't want to see, okay, then we're going to make sure that we set desired underscore x is going to be equal to clamp, which is an inbuilt function, desired x, comma 0, x, comma 0, comma, max 0, comma room height, or room width, sorry, width minus view width. Okay, let me explain what this bit of code does. So this first part, the clamp bit to the 0, that stops the camera showing anything outside of the room on the x-axis, so that's the horizontal axis. The max part at the end, that's an extra piece of code, and now what that does, that allows us to make sure that the camera doesn't display anything outside of the room if the camera is bigger than the room. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for the y-axis. So I'm going to copy that piece of code, and I'm going to paste that in there, and this time it's desired y is going to be clamped to desired y, comma 0, comma max, comma room height. Room height is a inbuilt function, same as room width. Okay, lovely. Okay, I'm going to close the. So that's that just makes sure that the room can't be seen outside of the left or right extremes of the screen, and the top and the bottom of the screen. Okay. We're now going to get the current camera's position. So to do that, let's put a piece of code in there. Sorry, comment. I keep saying code. Comment. We're going to get the camera current position, and we're going to do that by setting a variable called camera x and cx and cy, standing for camera x, camera y. So variable cx, again you can call yours what you want, is going to be equal to, and this is again another inbuilt function, camera underscore get underscore view underscore x cam. So that's saying in the value of cx, in the variable cx, store the value of the x on the x-axis for camera 0, because that's obviously the variable that we've set for view camera 0. Again, var cy equals camera underscore get underscore view underscore y, open brackets, cam. Should be semicolons at the end of both of those lines, and there's an error there as well because I copied the last line of code. Okay, so that gets the camera's current position. So what we want to do now is to use some code that's going to move the camera towards the player smoothly when we finish moving. So another comment, move camera towards the player smoothly. Okay, so we need to do a check to see that the value of smooth, which you set in here, okay, is bigger than 0. So this is just for completeness. Okay, so if the value of smooth is greater than 0, okay, if the value of smooth is greater than 0, which it should be because obviously we've set the value of smooth to 0.15, which is bigger than 0, then we're going to do the following. We are going to set the value of cx, camera x, is going to be equal to loop, which is another inbuilt function, cx, comma, desired x, comma, smooth. And then I'm going to copy, I'm going to put a semicolon on the end of there, I'm going to copy this line of code because we've got a similar one underneath, and this is going to be cy, desired y, comma smooth. So what this does, what this line of code does, what this section of code does, this will move the camera very slowly, so the alert function moves in small increments, okay, to the value, from the current value of the x to where we want to be, so the desired value of x, by the value of smooth. Okay, so lerp allows us to use very small increments in distances, okay, or in values. So that's what we've done there. Else we are going to set the value of cx is going to be equal to desired x and cy is going to be equal to desired y. Underscore y. Okay, so if the value of smooth for any reason goes below 0, then it's going to snap directly to that to those cameras settings, okay, rather than it being a smooth transition. And then finally, we're going to set the camera to the new position. By the simple command, again this is an inbuilt function, camera set view pause, camera set view pause, cam, comma cx, comma cy. So that sets the position of the camera, which is stored in the variable cam, which is camera view camera 0, to the value of camera value variable of cx and cy. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, let's see if this works. So let's go on play. Okay, good so far, no compile errors. So as I move my character, as it gets to the center of the screen, you can see my camera is now moving with my character. If I stop, you can see that there's a very slow, gradual movement of the camera, so it doesn't stop instantly, it stops over a distance, which gives it a smoother effect. Okay, I'll just demonstrate what happens if we change that value of smooth. So if I change that value of smooth to 0.05, what will happen is I'll have a longer, when the camera is moving or catching up to me, when I stop moving it'll take longer to stop. Okay, so you can see there I've got a longer delay before it stops. And you can see as I'm walking to the edge of the screen, the camera stops so as not to display anything outside of the room, okay, which is what we wanted. So that's what those clamp commands do, the clamp to room. Okay, it stops it displaying anything outside of the room. Same as if I jump, okay, if I'm on a platform, the camera is set wider than the room, the height of the room, then it would stop that happening as well. Lastly, just to show you, if I set that to 0.99 and I play it, this time when I walk, my camera moves the same, but when I stop, it stops dead. There's no gradual moving towards the center of my player again. So it just gives it that extra bit of smoothness, so as it looks better and plays better within the game. Okay, so that's that video complete. You now should have a working camera system. In the next video we're going to look at working with platforms within the game.